So the Allemande is a slow dance, despite what we usually hear, what I usually hear when I judge competitions. It is a slow, very sexy, mellifluous kind of a dance. So let's start with the Allemande from French Suite Number 1. Suite Number 1 is written in a key of D minor. Remember I mentioned D minor already? It's Bach's idea of a key of mourning. Again, one wonders what Anna Magdalena must have thought about that. But well, here's what I think, is that when you marry a widower, you necessarily also marry a ghost. So I think the ghost of Maria Barbara is very much in particularly this D minor suite. I'll play a little bit of this gorgeous Allemande. Listen to all these tortured harmonies. Listen to the pain, really. Is there anything more beautiful? I mean, I love every movement of every suite, but it's like, you know, loving your children is my favorite. So how to make it gorgeous? When a student brings this in, I often get this. So there are a number of things wrong with that, other than the tempo, for example. It's the quality of the articulation, or the legato. So the first thing we truly need is a mellifluous legato, which is overlap. So the harpsichordists overlap a great deal more than we can on the piano because we're going to get a lot of mud. However, if we think it through, we can still hold all the notes which are in the key. And we'll talk more about that on a different Allemande. Nothing wrong with that. Right, etc. But even more interesting than that is the rhythm. Since we are talking about a dance, we have to think that every dance in the world has some sort of a lilt to it. There's no such thing as evenness. Evenness is not the goal. So we have to think about the gestures in this dance. In this case, the gestures are iambic. If you're unfamiliar with the term, it's a term that comes from poetry, and it means a poetic strophe that begins on a weak beat and goes to the strong beat, as opposed to trochaic dancing, trochaic rhythm, which begins on a strong beat. So Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, that is trochaic, but then all the king's horses and all the king's men becomes iambic and allows us a flow. So Allemandes are almost invariably iambic. In fact, when confronted with any Bach work, start with the assumption that it's iambic. And there are exceptions, but you'll be better off thinking that way. So first two notes, and then we have an iambic unit of 8 notes. And then another one. And then only 4, etc. You can visualize or imagine in your mind what a beautiful dance move happens when there is a group of 8 and a different beautiful dance move that happens in a group of 4. So remember, then the rhythm doesn't go, but it goes. Do you notice what I'm doing with the rhythm? I'm sort of overdoing it obnoxiously for didactic reasons, but essentially each of the iambic groupings starts just a smidgen late and then gets just a smidgen scrunched together. to create a dance like